three, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Bills Mafia, we know there's one thing on your mind every day. Your team, the Buffalo Bills. So Matt Bove and Sal Capaccio are here to bring you the latest news, notes, and opinions straight from the source right here, right now. Because it's always game day in Buffalo.
Well, we're both here, so we're not getting fined. It's also mandatory to be now at Bills practice. Welcome, and it's always game day in Buffalo. In fact, so mandatory that my man Matt Bove is still out at One Bills Drive from today. I've made my way back to Studio Capaccio here in the city of Buffalo, where I live. Matt is still out there in the field house today.
Yeah, I got a field house too. It's not to myself. There's probably I didn't mean to do 6, 7, but I almost unintentionally did 6, 7. There's probably 6 or 7 people left in the field house right now, just kind of tying up the loose ends and getting ready to wrap up work. You know, we spent a bunch of time here in the fall, so it's a little strange to be here this late in the spring. Is this spring or summer? It's still spring, right?
Spring. Summer starts June 21st.
Yeah, when's the summer solstice? The 21st?
June 21st, 20th or 21st.
So, yeah, I'm still here. I'm hanging out. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I wanted to make sure we could get something up as quick as possible.
Okay, yeah, we do. And part of the reason why Matt is still there, so Joe Brady is having a later afternoon practice, and this looks to be the case. It's going to be happening during this season. So things might be on a bit of a different timeline with both you and I. Practice injury report this year. When the team has their normal weekly Wednesday, Thursday practices, it looks like Joe Brady's going to be a little bit later than Sean McDermott. I'm sure that's because of, weightlifting and meetings and sports science. This isn't unique. Every team's a little different. The Patriots, I know, go a little bit later. So a little bit of a change. But I think for you guys in the TV industry, not the worst thing in the world, right?
Actually, it's going to probably be a little bit trickier timing wise because if they finish practice around 4:30, all of these TV stations have shows at 5 o'clock. Normally, we would be able to have a longer amount of time to get that ready. So it feels like it's going to be a little bit more immediate. I also think it's a little bit easier to digest that information in the middle of the day as opposed to later in the day. I think so many people who are listening to this, watching this, who are following along with the Bills, they're checking their phones at work. They're keeping updated while they're in the middle of their day. Now those updates might not happen until 4:30. It's just a little bit later in the day. So it's not a huge change or anything, but that's just another layer to a new head coach, right? We've gotten so accustomed to the Sean McDermott schedule since 2017. Yep. And now, I have the conversation with my wife of like, hey, Wednesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to be home a couple hours later than I normally was because it's a different head coach now.
100%. I had the same conversation. I got home and I said, this is our Wednesday, Thursday life. Basically get used to it now for the season. I prefer early. It makes it tougher on me, but I mean, whatever. I mean, it's going to be easier on some people, tougher on others, but you're right. However, from that standpoint, what I do like is I'll have a little more like time before going out there to make sure I have no excuse not to work out now in the morning. How about that? I'm like, I have to. I can't say like, oh, I got to be down at the facility by 10 a.m. Right? So that's on me. I got to make sure I do that. So a little bit of a change there, a little bit of a change on the field today from some of the things we saw. Let's run through your news and notes. From mandatory minicamp day 1, the Bills will be on the field Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe on Thursday this week. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. It's always game day in Buffalo, wherever you pod, and of course on YouTube at Sal Sports. All right, Matt, I'd say maybe one of the bigger news points of the day is something you tweeted, you observed. This was after Joe Brady told us that Dorian Williams was dealing with an injury, didn't specify it was the same injury or not from the playoff game in Denver where he hurt his neck, but now we know it's definitely a new injury from what you saw.
Yeah, definitely, because I saw him walking in crutches off to the side, basically like where some of the players are working out. I just happened to be standing in a place where I could see him come in and out of the weight room with those crutches. I don't exactly know what the injury is. What I can tell you is that I don't think it has anything to do with what happened in that Denver game all those months ago with that being a neck injury. It sounded like the way Joe Brady said it, it's something that had happened in this offseason.
Yes.
It also sounded like that he should be back at some point, but the fact that he has not been out there, I mean, we have been here for all of these voluntary workouts. We have not seen him up to this point. That's a notable absence because we've even spent time talking on this podcast. Is it Dorian Williams? Is it Caleb Elarms-Orr? What are they going to do at inside linebacker opposite of Terrell Bernard, right? Like Dorian Williams needs these reps in some capacity. So I don't know the severity of it, but I did know that of the guys that were not on the practice field today, he's the only one I did not see eventually come out and join the team, at least on the side. So the other absences, Spencer Brown, Cole Bishop, Skylar Bell. Spencer came out after he was done working out. Cole Bishop came out after he was done working out. Skylar Bell, we saw him on the jugs machine an hour after practice ended, just sitting there catching balls. Just didn't see much of Dorian other than that brief time I saw him off to the side.
Yeah, so obviously all three of those other guys are dealing with something that's keeping them away from football, but I wouldn't think it's anything too major or serious. Obviously a little concern on Skylar Bell when he's been there all OTAs when you don't see him on the field, but then coming out and actually catching balls, the jugs machine afterwards, I did see him eat a sleeve on one of his legs. So a little nicked up there, I'm sure, but they'll have plenty of time before they get to training camp. In the meantime, what does it mean for inside linebacker? I think, and I wrote about this the other day. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast. To me, it's the most clear-cut open competition, even more than left guard. I think that's mainly Alec Anderson's job to lose. But, whether I'm right or wrong on that, this was an open competition. I thought Caleb Elarms-Orr was really acclimated himself to put himself in position, I should say, to take that job. And now I really think he'll probably be the leader in the clubhouse come training camp, Matt.
Yeah, and we've also just heard the way Jim Leonhard was talking about him very early on in this process. This was still in voluntary workouts when we heard from Jim Leonhard in the way he was describing and talking about Caleb Elarms-Orr. So it feels like there's a lot of praise there. At the same time, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's see all these guys on the field actually in pads, especially with the linebacker position, because I don't know what we can take away from the actual football side of things that we're able to watch happen inside the field house today. Even there was some inclement weather in the area today, so they had 90 guys working out in this field house. Normally for mandatory minicamp, the Bills have 2.5 fields outside. You got 90 guys all practicing on one field and then a bunch of other people all scattered around as well. So I don't think they had the space that they were looking for. I think Elarms-Orr might have a slight edge, but I don't want to get carried away either, just because I have no idea how he's going to look when they actually start playing football.
No, I agree with you on that. I was just checking the weather since you said, sorry, because we actually you said you had weather out there, and I was thinking about that. That's right. I got a baseball game tonight here in Buffalo, and it's like crazy. The weather was pouring in Orchard Park, and it wasn't in Buffalo today, and that forced them inside. You don't want to take any chances with the guys, going out on the practice field, so that's why they moved indoors. No. We'll see if they go back to the outdoors tomorrow. So Dorian Williams, we know that he's going to be dealing with something come training camp. We suspected Michael Hoecht would be dealing with something come training camp. Guy was doing individual drills today. I mean,
that's crazy.
It is. He looks like he could be ready actually to play on July 29th, which should be the first training camp date. Amazing.
Yes. So did you talk to him after practice? I actually talked to him for a little while. Yeah, he's just an awesome interview, by the way. He's always so forthcoming. He was talking about the 7 quarters of football he played last year, and he said for 7 quarters, I felt like the best player in the NFL, or one of the best players in the NFL, because of how productive he ultimately was. Now, as far as the injury is concerned, I think the exact way I phrased the question was, Michael, I am no medical expert, but it feels like you're ahead of schedule based off of the things we are watching you do. Are you ahead of schedule? Are you on schedule? Or how would you kind of categorize that? And he said, were you in there for this? Where he was like, I got injured 7 months. 7 months and 4 days.
He
ago.
Knew exactly to the day how long it's been since the injury, which occurred on November 5th.
November 5th, he was like, yeah, I was injured 7 months and 3 days ago. Then he said, wait, what day is it? I said, it's June 9th. So 7 months and 4 days ago. But who's counting, basically? He then used the analogy that recovering from a significant injury is almost like having a child, where there's all these different milestones in those week and month markers. And I loved he's always so insightful. But he said, eventually you have to start doing things that aren't so methodical and planned out. So he's like, when you're running, it's not just left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. You just have to go be an athlete and see how your body reacts. And I think that's what we're starting to see with him, of him not thinking about one foot in front of the other, back and forth. Just go and see how you respond to it. And that's one of those things that we always see of, like, maybe it takes a little bit longer for people to respond because they need to build that confidence back up. It would be natural to not have that level of confidence. But it feels like from what we've seen, he's really trending in the right direction. I posted a video. I know several other people posted videos. Like, he looks good out there.
Yeah, check it out at Matt_Bove on X, at Sal Sports on X. We both have some video there. You can also obviously go to Matt and watch him on TV, WKBW TV Channel 7. We're actually recording this right now. You may watch it, and it's right before Matt's going to be going on TV to talk about all this and show some video, of Michael Hoecht running around out there. He is a very thoughtful and intelligent man. He's an Ivy Leaguer, Matt. He went to Brown.
Of course.
I asked him today, like, how much have you kind of dove into the medical side of it? You're an intelligent guy. And he talked about that a little bit. Like he said, he's a sponge. He's trying to learn about like the body and how it reacts. And who wouldn't want to do that when this is what you do for a living? And, you have this, I'd say, catastrophic type of injury to end your season. You're going to want to learn about it and what goes into all the recovery and maybe some of the historical kind of methods or recoveries that have gone right and have gone wrong or things like that. So it doesn't surprise me about Michael Hoecht. We'll see what he does on Wednesday, Thursday, and then, of course, we'll see if he starts training camp. Welcome sight for the Buffalo Bills to see James Cook back. He did not participate in any of the OTAs that we saw. When I saw him one play, take the ball through the hole, and I understand, folks, you have to know defense can't like hit anybody right now. They're just getting an arm on you. But he was the same James Cook, explosive, taking one to the house. I'm like, oh, yeah, he didn't miss a beat.
This is one of those instances where, because of reporting guidelines, we can't exactly tell you everything that we see in the types of plays. There was a James Cook play where Sal and I were standing next to each other where we're like, there it is. That was one. So It was a really good play, and it was really encouraging to see that from the offense. You can kind of put the pieces together with the hints that I'm giving you. It was a good sign if you were somebody who wants to see some of the things we've talked about the Bills needing to improve upon moving forward. It's nice because I think the way I described this on TV at 5 o'clock, there's no drama right now. It feels like the start of mandatory minicamp is always the barometer for like contract disputes, no-shows, holdouts, James Cook conversations. Before James Cook, it was Stefon Diggs conversations. We don't have any of that right now. 100% attendance as far as, everybody who needs to be here is here. Not everybody's practicing. But yeah, there's not the James Cook story that we were talking about at this point last year. What was it? It was only a year ago. He didn't come for the first day, but he showed up for the second day. Is that what it was?
For mandatory?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't remember that specifically, but the thing about last year was we knew it was coming.
Is that what it was?
Right? Like we were all bracing for it. We were ready for it, that he was going to be coming. Are you finding out? Is someone telling you right now there if that was the case?
Catalana.
Mike Catalana.
He says he doesn't remember
friends
him
in
listening.
Rochester. Yeah.
And the camp stuff, he did the hold out, the hold in, the holds.
But, Matt, we knew it was coming last year. That was the difference, right? We kind of were prepped for it. And this year we're like, look, that shouldn't happen. And it didn't. The other guy we hadn't seen yet, we saw him today for the first time, Deion Dawkins on the practice field. And Deion has spoken a lot about wanting to get down and weight. Now, I asked him specifically, are you where you want to be? And he said, of course not, right? It's only June 9th, but he still has a goal to be a little bit lighter. And we saw Deion Dawkins on the field today, and he was his usual talkative, vibrant self.
Doesn't it just feel like the vibe is a little different? It's hard to put a barometer on that, right? It's hard to explain it perfectly. It just, they really like Joe. That doesn't mean that they did not like Sean, right? Just newer, fresher, more energy. I was watching Joe down when they were doing stretching, and he's going to the players and he's got like handshakes with the guys. It's just like, it's a very different vibe. That doesn't mean it has to be a good thing.
Right.
But when I hear Deion talk about how close they already are, when you hear Ed Oliver's comment, now I believe he told it to Thad Brown with WROC. So what did he say? He's like, Joe Brady's the coolest white boy I've ever met. Ed Oliver talking about Joe Brady. I'm paraphrasing a little bit there. It just feels like there's like some loose, excited energy from this facility. And I think that's a good thing. I certainly don't think it's a bad thing.
Even Deion Dawkins, he was asked a question about the stadium, actually, the new stadium. He gave an answer that basically, by you, there you go.
Yeah.
His answer to you was interesting because he said, it was time for some change or something like that, right? And then he was very quick to say, I'm not saying we have to change out all the players, but, it was time to have some changes, which was interesting to me.
Yeah. It just feels like after a while, a new message, a new approach. It's all talk right now. If they struggle, we're going to be like, what the heck is going on, right? It's easy to have these conversations now. How does this look when they are faced with true adversity, right? Like that's the very real conversation that we will need to have. But it does feel like everybody there's a good vibe. There's a good kind of like groove that's happening. You know, one of the other guys I talked to after practice day was Bradley Chubb. And we were talking about like, hey, you've been in the league for a long time. What are you trying to accomplish during mandatory minicamp? And he said it's a combination of football, but it's just as important to just get on the same page off the field. He's like, you know, these are the guys that we're going to spend all of these months with going to work every day. You want to make sure you guys are close on and off the field. And that is just as much of a part of what they are trying to accomplish right now. So I think we've seen a lot of that.
Another player who we had not seen on the field and did today was wide receiver Joshua Palmer. I am fascinated by what this wide receiver room looks like now and what it might look like in September. And it's because of three guys, really. Joshua Palmer, Keon Coleman, and Skylar Bell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where any of them are going to fall. Keon had a good day today, by the way. I really liked Keon today. He had a couple of nice catches. He got into it a little bit with Davis and Igbinosun. Nothing serious, but he didn't like Igbinosun getting on him, and he threw the ball back, and there's a little pushing. I like that. It's got a little attitude.
That's the stuff they need. And seriously, like it goes both ways. We talk about it with CJ Gardner-Johnson. We talk about it with Igbinosun as well. Like he clearly got under Keon's skin.
Yes.
I love that kind of stuff. I love that type of stuff.
And we saw that today. And then you have Skylar Bell, who, aside from the injury, he's never really played special teams. It was a talking point when they drafted him. If he's going to make the roster, if he's going to be on the team, he might have to play special teams. He's going to be on the team, I should say, but might be something he does. But could he elevate himself into the top three? If he does, maybe that's bad news because Keon Coleman didn't do everything he's supposed to do. Or you have Joshua Palmer there, who really I think they believe in, but man, he just hasn't been on the field. And I got to tell you, I've said this on WGR. You tell me if you think I'm crazy. Okay, first let me say, if they were to move on from Joshua Palmer, they would take a pretty good cap hit, like a $10 million dead cap hit. I don't think that matters these days as much anymore as the money is saved, which is about $2.5 million this year. I don't think it's crazy to think Brandon Cooks is on this roster in September and Joshua Palmer isn't.
Oh, I don't think that's a crazy take at all. I don't think that's a crazy take. I actually saw Brandon Cooks got interviewed yesterday or today and talking about
part of the reason it came up on WGR. Yeah.
How much he enjoyed his time in Buffalo and that he also fully intends on playing this upcoming season. They got a heck of a lot more out of Brandon Cooks than they got out of Joshua Palmer last year. And look at the points in their careers that they're at. It just feels like when they signed Joshua Palmer, I think the big appeal for people was the ability to create separation. And we did not see that consistently enough where we did with Brandon Cooks. Now, there were also some lows with Brandon Cooks, like a ball he needs to catch in Denver, particularly. And, you know, maybe you say he did catch it, whatever. He should make it so it's not even a question that he catches it. But I liked what we saw from Brandon Cooks a lot more than what we saw from Joshua Palmer. And if the injuries continue to linger, I could absolutely see that being a move that the Bills make.
Before we move on and talk a little bit more about the Bills and the 2026 season, we want to invite everybody to watch us, to meet us, to see us on location Friday, June 26th. Matt and I are going to our yearly trek down to Irving, New York, just off the reservation. It is Signals gas station. We're going to be there with the WGR team. We got giveaways, and we have even signed Buffalo sports items, merchandise, memorabilia, Matt. We're going to be doing this podcast live at Signals on Friday, June 26th from 1 to 3 p.m. How cool is that?
Yeah, I'm very excited. It was really cool to be down there for the last couple of years that we have been there. It's right in the time where we are about a month away from the start of Bills training camp. So I feel like it's going to be a good primer to get us ready. I'm also thinking, too, that day is the start of the NHL draft. Maybe we get some spicy Bills or Sabres moves that happen while they're leading into the draft. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. I always love to do the live on location podcast just because we get a chance to chat with some people, meet some people. And it's always really cool. It's always like very humbling if somebody's like, hey, I love listening to your podcast. That makes us feel really, really good. So we appreciate any of the support, and we look forward to meeting a bunch of you guys.
Okay. I think we've kind of touched on a lot of, mandatory minicamp. There's more to come tomorrow. I have just a Bills schedule question for you. And with apologies, I was asked this by Mike Shope on WGR, and I said, you know what? Matt is a schedule guy too. We'll ask him what he thinks. I'm going to throw the schedule up. There it is. Okay, Matt.
Yep.
Let's take a look. First of all, what is I'll take it record at the bye? They have 6 games at Houston, at home against Detroit, the Chargers, and the Patriots, at the Rams, at the Raiders. What is you know what? I'm totally fine. I'll take it minimum record.
Oh, I think you'd sign up for 4-2 right now, but I even think 3-3 is fine.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
Ooh. 3-3 is tough. I think you get to 4-2, you are fine. 3-3, it's a tough call. Like, how about this? If I said this right now to you, Matt, I'll give you 3-3. You don't play the games. Are you taking it?
No, I'm not taking it because they should be better than that.
Yep.
But they could also be worse than that. I mean, like, look at their schedule, right? It's not the Texans defense and just the Texans in general have given them fits. The Lions, I think, are very good. The Chargers are some people's like sleeper Super Bowl pick. The Patriots went to the Super Bowl last year. The Rams are probably going to the Super Bowl this year. And then there's the Raiders. In those first 5 games, I think winning 2 of them is not like winning only 2 of them is not an insane thing to say. And then you're assuming that they beat the Raiders. That's 3-3. So I think 4-2 is what if you said right now you can take 4-2, I think you would be foolish not to.
Okay, well, that gets me to the next question, which we go 4 more games into the schedule, which would get you 10 games in. It is, excuse me, home to the Ravens, at the Vikings, at the Jets, home to the Dolphins. To me, let's just take 10 games in before you get to a monster stretch. 10 games in, what's okay, I'll take that record. Is it 6-4? Does it got to be 7-3 now?
So I think it's 7-3. 6-4 isn't like the sky is falling quite yet, just because, I think that they could very realistically split with the Patriots. I think they've had success against the Chiefs, and it's at home. The Packers, I think, are very good. The the Bears, that game's at home. And the Broncos, they could have beaten the Broncos with 4 turnovers last year. And I think that, they're very much in that game. 5 turnovers, excuse me. So I'd say 7. I'd say if through 10 games, they're 7-3, you're probably feeling really good. Okay.
Then you have the final stretch, which is, almost the final stretch. I'll get to the last 2 in a minute, but now it's monstrous. I mean, this is a murderer's row. Chiefs, Patriots, Packers, Bears, Broncos in succession in those 5 games. Okay. If you say, you know what, 6-4, the sky isn't falling, boy, Matt, you got some work to do because the next 5 are really tough. What are we looking at after 15 games then? If you're saying 6-4, sky isn't falling, you better steal maybe an extra game you thought you weren't. Because the way I look at it is you get to 7-3, I can absorb then going 3-2 over the next 5 to get me to 10-5 with 2 games left.
I'm not anticipating like a conversation about a 1 seed. I'm just thinking about winning the division.
Okay.
I think that's the focus for the Bills. And I think you could win the division potentially with 10 games because all of a sudden the Patriots have a harder schedule this year.
They do.
And you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's an unrealistic thing. So to me, it's just win the division and then you get to the playoffs. And it's the same conversation we've had about the Bills so many times in the past. Like, yes, winning the division getting the 1 seed maybe would have been the difference. They haven't done that. But, if this Bills team goes to the playoffs, then they can get hot.
So you think 10? So if I ask you right now, 10-5 with 2 games left is probably good for you're going to do that. Yep.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you definitely would do that.
Absolutely, because you like those last 2 games, and now you're 12-5. I think there's an outside chance at 12-5 you're the 1 seed, but you're probably the 2 or the 3 seed, and then you're hosting a wild card game.
What does 10-7 do for you in this season if you're there? Does that get you to probably where you want to go based on what you said about the Patriots?
Probably not. I think to win,
you need to get to 11. Then they got to get to 11 wins for you to feel a little pretty comfortable, right?
Yeah, I think so. Even 11's tricky. 12, I think definitely, but 11, what were they last year? 12-5.
Yeah, I got to look at that now, but yeah, I mean, and they didn't get the 1 seed, of course, right? We know that.
Yeah.
And even if you're talking about like against other teams, last year. 10-7 won a division that was the North, but 11-6 was the first wild card. The last wild card. 11-6 got you. Like, you had to get to 11, unless you won a division with a less record. You had to get to 11.
It's a brutal schedule. It's like the hardest schedule I remember the Bills playing. I know they had one a couple of years ago that was very difficult, and I remember having the same conversation of would you take this at the beginning of the schedule or however it falls. That goes to the Joe Brady point about the vibes being good. You go and lose to Houston, all of a sudden that Lions game in week 2, it's not a must win, but like you are feeling it if you start 0-2. And the Lions are not a team that you just think you're going to roll over by any stretch. They got a hard schedule. I think 4-2 out of the rip would really ease some people's nerves and concern. I mean, that's what they were last year before they went into the bye. because they started 4-0, then they lost to the Patriots on Sunday Night Football, then they lost to the Falcons on Monday Night Football. And I remember we did a live podcast at, I think it was the Old Buffalo Brewery, and it was like a vibe check because they were 4-2, but they had lost 2 in a row, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, the sky is falling." Then they went on a little bit of a run after that, and there was really never a concern last year if they were going to miss the playoffs. It was just whether or not they were going to win the division, and we saw how that played out. They did not. But I'm just always very much like, get into the playoffs, because if you get into the playoffs, you just got to get hot at the right time.
Speaking of the schedule, the Bills will be back on the practice field on Wednesday, once again at 2:15. No media pre-practice schedule with any coaches. We will hear again from some players after practice. Thursday, they basically said media can come down and give us a time to interview players, but we'll see if anything happens, because they could scrap everything for all we know. At this point, there's no practice for the media to watch, but we could talk to players. And then that's it, folks, from June 11th all the way to July 29th. That'll be the Bills' first practice based on the CBA and the math of when they could be on the field for their first training camp practice. That's quite a while. But in the meantime, Matt and I are going to be out at Signals. That's Friday, June 26th, 1 to 3 p.m. in Irving, Southwestern Boulevard. We got some stuff planned for training camp. Training camp's going to be a little shorter this year. We know about that. But as soon as the schedule comes out, we'll reveal all of that. Okay. I think we got everything, and we can get to a little bit more later this week, buddy.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sal. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot to Mike Rabier, our producer, and thank you for watching, downloading, and subscribing to It's Always Game Day in Buffalo.